Before you admire any marriage, you should watch this video. As they said, marriage is not a bed full of roses. Take your time before you say, God, when? On a peaceful street in Lagos, where children rode bicycles in the evening, and the scent of Sunday jollof rice filled the air, 3 families lived side by side. From the outside, they looked normal, happy, blessed. But inside each home, something was quietly breaking. Amara was always the first to wake up, before the sun stretched across the Lagos sky, before the birds began their morning noise. She was already in the kitchen, the sound of pots, the rush of running water, the soft footsteps moving from room to room. She cooked, she cleaned, she ironed uniforms, she packed lunchboxes, she braided her daughter's hair, she helped with homework. Her husband, Kunle, provided well. He paid the bills without complaint. But when she said, softly, Kunle, please help me with the children, I am tired, he would respond calmly, almost proudly, it is not my duty to do house chores, I bring money, that is enough. That sentence became a wall between them. Their children heard it, even when they pretended not to. Next door, Ifunanya sat on a soft couch, phone in hand, the television glowing before her. 3 years ago, she had almost died, giving birth. She lost a lot of blood. The doctor had said, you must rest, avoid stress. And she rested. Days turned into months, months into years. The house was often untidy. Plates stayed in the sink. Laundry waited patiently. Her husband, Bayo, returned from work exhausted, but still cooked, cleaned, bathed the children, and prepared them for school. Whenever he gently said, my love, maybe you can help small? She would answer quickly. The doctor said I must always rest, and he would go quiet. He never wanted to remind her of the hospital, of the blood, of the fear. So he endured. And in the third house lived Ada and Chinedu. They shared chores, they laughed often, they looked like the perfect couple. But sometimes perfection hides pain. At weddings, at church programs, even while scrolling through social media, Chinedu would say casually, see how slim she is. You used to look like that before the children? Ada would smile. But later at night, she would stand before the mirror, touching her stomach, tracing the stretch marks that told the story of carrying life. One evening, their daughter asked, Mummy, are you trying to be fine again so Daddy will like you? Ada sat down slowly. Children listen, even when we think they are playing. Every Sunday morning, all 3 families attended church. The choir sang powerfully. The pastor preached about marriage. Marriage is not easy, he said. It requires endurance. After service, they each visited their parents. Kunle's mother adjusted her head tie and told Amara, in our time, we endured worse. A woman must be strong. Marriage is to endure. Kunle's mother said gently, my daughter, no marriage is perfect. Endure your season. Ada's father said thoughtfully, marriage is indeed to endure, but endure with wisdom. The word followed them home. Endure, endure, endure. While they drive back home inside the car, Kunle said, I know I am a good husband and father. I provide for you and the kids. That is what a good father should do. She just sat there and said nothing. During weekend, he prefers to stay outside with friends drinking in the bar, instead to stay home to give her helping hands with the kids. The turning point came quietly. One hot afternoon, Amara was cooking, supervising homework, and answering a phone call at the same time. Her head began to spin, the room tilted, the spoon fell from her hand, and she collapsed. The children screamed. Kunle rushed her to the hospital. Machines beeped softly in the white room. The doctor said, "She is exhausted physically and emotionally." Kunle sat beside her bed in silence. For the first time, he noticed the dark circles under her eyes, the weight she carried daily without applause. Money suddenly felt small, very small. That same week, Zara came home crying from school. "Mummy," she sobbed, "my friends said our house is always dirty." Ifunanya froze. Later that night, she heard Bayo praying quietly in the living room. "God, give me strength, I'm tired." She covered her mouth. For 3 years she had hidden behind the word rest. But maybe she was no longer resting. Maybe she was avoiding. Meanwhile, at a church couples retreat, the pastor said something that shook Chinedu. When you compare your spouse, you plant seeds of rejection in your own home. Chinedu looked at Ada, really looked at her. He remembered the labor room, her screams, her tears. Her body had changed because she carried their children. That night, their daughter repeated his own words while playing. "You are not fine again." It sounded cruel coming from a child. He realized that voice was his. Change did not happen in one day. It began in small ways. Kunle tried cooking for the first time. He burned the rice. The children laughed. Amara smiled weakly, but something had shifted. He began helping with homework. He washed plates. He stopped saying, "It is not my duty." Instead, he said quietly, "We will endure together." Ifunanya started with one small decision. She picked up a broom. She cleaned slowly. She cooked one meal. She attended one school meeting. Strength returned little by little. Not because the doctor changed his advice, but because she changed her heart. Rest became recovery, not excuse. Chinedu stopped comparing. He started appreciating. In front of the children, he said, "Your mother is beautiful. She is strong. She gave me this family." Ada stood taller, not slimmer, but stronger. Months later, on another Sunday morning in Lagos, the 3 families met outside after church. The children ran freely. Laughter filled the air. An elderly neighbor watching them said softly, "Yes, marriage is to endure, but not to endure neglect, not to endure laziness, not to endure comparison. Marriage is to endure growth, to endure correction, to endure learning how to love properly." On that peaceful street in Lagos, 3 families finally understood. Endurance is not silent suffering. It is choosing to grow together. And in that understanding, their homes became lighter, their children became happier, and love became intentional. Now tell me, which family did you relate to the most? Was it Amara, Ifunanya, or Ada? Let's talk in the comments. And if you want more powerful African stories about marriage, family, and life, please subscribe, like, share to family and friends to this channel. Because here we tell stories that make us think, stories that make us reflect, stories that remind us we are not alone. And I'll see you in the next story. Thank you, and bye.